Ageism and age discrimination in hiring house cleaners. Here's what you need to know. Hi there, I'm Angela Brown, and this is Ask a House Cleaner. This is a show where you get to ask a house cleaning question, and I get to help you find an answer. Now, today's show is brought to us by Savvy Cleaner Training, which has an entire employment section on how to hire with best practices. And it covers a whole bunch of different discrimination issues you need to know about religious and sexual preferences, gender preferences, race issues, and one of them is age. So we're going to touch on this today. We're not going to go into the whole training, but I want to give you a heads up on a couple of things you need to know. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions from our listeners and our readers, so thank you very much for tuning into the show. And they want to know, is there a certain age where there's a cutoff and you don't get to be a house cleaner anymore? All right, well, there is what's called the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, which is also known as ADEA. And the rules and regulations say, no, you cannot discriminate against age. And that includes a variety of things like employment and hiring and firing practices, promotions, training, the job description, and what is available and required from you on the job. So there are a whole bunch of rules and regulations that are federal regulations that are already in place. So if you are going in for a job interview for house cleaning and you have been turned away, there are a couple of things going on, and I want to touch on that today. The very first, are you thinking in your head, number one, that you're too old? Because there are a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm not going to get hired because I'm too old. All right, if that's your thinking, you're going in already with a broken leg. And I mean a broken leg meaning you have nothing to stand on, right? Because in your head, you already have locked your possibilities out. So if the Age Discrimination Act is in play, which most companies are, it's required, right? So most companies are practicing it already. They're not going to discriminate on your age. So when you come in, number one, how do you present yourself? Now, in the show notes today, there are 5 different books that I've linked up for you, and 3 of them are absolutely free, and they are on how to ace the job interview. And I recommend that you pick them up and you read them because, like I said, they're absolutely free. 2 of them do cost money, but they're really good books. Okay, anyway, it will guide you through what you can and cannot say in a job interview and what you should and should not say so that you don't turn the employer away. Then for the employers, I would recommend that you read them as well because there are questions you can't ask. Like you don't want to ask somebody, how old are you? Okay, another thing that I would recommend is what does your resume look like? So if you are on the senior side, and I'm going to say senior meaning above 40, the law protects you above age 40. 40 is like the old age. Okay, so if you are above the age of 40 and you have, I'm just making this up, 40 jobs, and you come in with a resume that has a list of 40 jobs, the first thing as an employer that they're going to see is this person has no work stability. They've gone through 40 different jobs, right? They're looking for somebody that has a long-term history with one particular job. And so if you have 40 jobs, pick 2 or 3 of them that illustrate what you would be good at in the house cleaning industry, something similar, and show the longest work history. Because a lot of times we have multiple jobs, right? We have 2 and 3 jobs simultaneously, and some of them run for a long period of time. What we're looking for is that long window of time. All right, another thing that you have to think about is, are there jobs that you have done in the past that taught you a specific set of skills that would be good for house cleaning? Those are the jobs you want to highlight. So when you are talking to an employer, how do you present yourself? When you show up for the job interview, do you look old and tired? Because what's going to happen is this. You come in and you look worn out and tired and frazzled, and you bring a resume that says, I've had 40 jobs. They're going to look at this and politely say to you, oh, you're overqualified. And so they're going to send you on your way when, in fact, you don't look like the part. So what I recommend to you is this. If you're going in for a job interview for a house cleaning position, what you want to do is paint a picture that you are, in fact, ready and rip-roaring ready to go for the job. So what this means is, and I'm not kidding, pull your hair back in a bun so that when you walk in, you look like a house cleaner. And you may want to dress like a house cleaner in something professional, but something that's comfortable, loose-fitting, easy to maneuver in if you were to clean houses. If you show up for a job interview and you're wearing a Sunday dress and your hair is all curled and you have big spray and whatever, and you're wearing pantyhose and heels, and you walk in, it's going to be very difficult for that employer to paint a picture in their mind that, oh yes, this person wearing the jewelry and the fancy shoes is going to transfer over into a pair of sneakers and a bun in her hair, and she's going to go about cleaning. I say her hair, it could be his hair. All right, my point is you want to look the part. So how are you presenting yourself when you go in for the job? Now, it's very important that you are capable at any age of doing a house cleaning job, because one of the requirements of being a house cleaner is physical labor. And so if you are physically incapable of doing the job, that's going to come out on the initial interview, and it may have nothing to do with age. So if, for example, you are physically unable to do the job, it is your job to sell the employer on what you are capable of doing. Now, in the past, I have known house cleaners that have shown up for a job interview and they said, I'm physically unable to bend and stoop and all these things. And so what I would like to do is, if you have a different job that would allow me to either do the walkthrough for a customer, or if you have some administrative tasks that I can do behind the scenes. So it's not impossible for you to get a job. You just have to know what your skills are and then bill yourself correctly. Because if you go into a house cleaning job and you promise that you can physically do the job and you can't, then they're going to let you go, and it has nothing to do with age. So if you're thinking, well, it's because of my age, now you got to prove it, okay? If you decide that you're going to file a complaint against your employer for age discrimination, there are a couple of things that you have to do. Number one, you have to prove either evidence or indirect evidence that you have a case. Now, the direct evidence that you're going to prove is going to be something that the employer did that was really stupid, like in their application for the job, where they say, we're looking for an age range of 20 to 35. So if there's an age discrimination range, or there's a suggested age inside that job application, okay, that's proof. That's proof that they were discriminatory against your age. Now, the protected class, like I said, is above age 40. So if there are any comments that go beyond age 40, that is something that you can work on as far as your court case. All right, the next thing is the indirect evidence. Now, it's not against the law. It's not unlawful for your employer or coworkers to make comments, disparaging comments, about, oh, we're all getting too old to do this job anymore. Or, we need to get some new whippersnappers in here that have lots of energy or whatever. Not against the law for them to say things like that. But if you can establish a pattern of them saying things like that, that creates a hostile work environment where there is age discrimination. So that's indirect evidence that supports your case. Then what you have to do is you have to pay attention to, are there other issues, like all the young people got chosen to go to a specific training for, let's say, Airbnbs. You did not. Okay, then that would be perhaps age discrimination. There's a lot of gray area in here, and a really good attorney can help you with that. But what you want to do is, if you feel that you're being age discriminated against, you need to start making notes so that you have a leg to stand on, so to speak, if you have to file a complaint. All right, now the next thing is, let's be honest about your age. As we get older, our bodies don't respond like they did when we were 20. And so if you're going into the house cleaning business, it's important that you understand what the rules and regulations are. If the employer is looking for somebody that's going to come work 8 hours a day, you might have to be real honest and say, hey, listen, I'm not up for 8 hours a day. I'm really great for a 4-hour window, which might lend itself, now you're selling yourself back to the employer, to an Airbnb client who has a late checkout at 11 o'clock and an early check-in at 3. So that 11 to 3 window, I would love to do an Airbnb job for you. And that lets your employer know that, hey, you'd be a good person to put on an Airbnb, and you have 1 or 2 of those per week. That's it. That would be your job. And so it's your job to sell them. Now, we had a grandma that came in, and she wanted to be in the house cleaning business. And she knew that she had some limitations based on her physical abilities and her age. And so she came in with all guns blazing because she needed the job. And as she sat down and explained her story, she said, I am a grandma. I have not been in the workplace. I do not have a resume with all of these different things. I've raised a family, and that is my long-term commitment. I raised 5 children. And then she said, and I've been a grandma to all of these kids. And she said, I have a very tidy house. I've been cleaning my own house for years. What I do understand is this. I understand grandmas my age and what they need in house cleaning. And she said, because I am a grandma, I work at their speed. So they're not expecting me to come in and do speed cleaning and clean their entire house top to bottom in a 2-hour window. They understand I'm going to come in and it's going to take me 4 hours to do what other house cleaners would do in two. But she was very honest and open about her capabilities, and she was perfect for the audience she sold herself to because they connected. They could talk about their grandkids. They had stuff in common. And then she had excuses. She would say, oh, I'd love to stay and chat, but I can't. I've got to pick my grandson up for his soccer game. Stuff like that, right? So she was good with the customers and she was good as a house cleaner. But if you are in a certain age and you have limitations, it's your job to sell that to the employer in a positive way so that they still hire you. So if it's in your head that nobody's going to hire you because of your age, get rid of that right now, okay? There are lots of jobs for people over 40 in the house cleaning business. And I have a private Facebook group that has about 8,000 professional house cleaners in it. And every once in a while, somebody says, hey, am I the oldest one here? And the list just checkers down with people going, no, I'm 67, I'm 55, I'm 62, I'm 61, I'm 59. There are a whole bunch of house cleaners that are active, that are working every single day, that have passed 40 a long time ago, but they're running very significant, successful businesses because their mind says, oh, yes, I can. So if you're thinking that ageism and age discrimination is real, it's a very real thing and you need to be aware of it. And if you are the employer, you need to be very, very careful about the comments that you say. Because though you may be joking, and sadly enough, maybe you're just trying to realize your own aging and you're like, ugh, I'm getting old. But as you make those comments can be held against you to prove that you've created a hostile work environment. So if you're saying comments like that, please stop. It's not going to serve you in any way from here through infinity. Alrighty, that's my 2 cents for today. If you found this helpful, please pass it on to a friend. And until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.